Hello guys, welcome to the Bright Agent. Today we are going to be doing a video on sunspots. Ensure you like and subscribe, as this helps me be motivated to make more and more and more quality videos. Now you may be asking to yourself, well, what is he talking about? What are sunspots? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Sunspots are black dots that you may see on the sun. But then some people may ask, well, what do they mean? Why are you talking about them in this video? Well, the reason why I'm mentioning them is because in geography, they are one of the causes of climate change. And although they might not be the biggest one, although they might not be human caused ones, they still are a part of climate change. Now, sunspots are formed by magnetic storms, and because of the excess radiation, they go down to Earth and heat the Earth with direct radiation. And because the heat is trapped, that means less of the heat can go out and more of it stays in. In addition, that means that the Earth gets warmer, and evidence for this is shown in the Little Ice Age from 1300 to 1870, because it was colder and had less sunspots, and in the medieval era, there were more sunspots and the weather was warmer. However, don't really take this as much to heart, because it's not really one of the main sources. It is a source, sure, but you shouldn't take it as the reason why climate change has always happened. There are always other sources, and one of the other historical sources of information are ice cores. Now, here's a really important part. Ice may just seem like ice that you can throw in water, stuff like that, but ice that you find in Antarctica can really determine whether it was hotter or colder, depending on oxygen isotopes. Now, you may be thinking that I'm just talking about random stuff. I'm just talking about chemistry, isotopes, and things that I've just learned. Well, oxygen isotopes can heavily depend on it, because there are two types of it present in the ice cores: 16O and 18O. Now, 16O is obviously the lighter type, because the lighter it is, the less mass it has, and the mass is 16. So 16O isotopes will obviously be colder, because it will be easier to evaporate since it's lighter. Now 16O means that's hotter, 18O means that's colder, since the heavier something is, the harder it is to get rid of it. So, essentially speaking, 18O is harder to evaporate, that's why it's colder. Sorry for a mistake there. Now, that's one source of information, however, can be unreliable, since other factors can happen, other materials can get in there, or maybe it's been affected because external factors may have happened. For example, it went in contact with something else, maybe like an animal or people that live there, maybe an accident or something. But the point is, you can't completely rely on these sources, and the worst part is that you don't know when it happened unless you look really, really closely. The more layers that an ice core has, the older that the ice core is. So if it doesn't have as many layers, it's more recent than one which has lots and lots of them, since it's been given time to form, to develop. So ice cores, sunspots are good ways of seeing how climate change works, and sunspots are a good way of saying maybe it's a climate change form, but you can't exactly say it's one of the underlying causes of it. Now I'm here to actually talk about the enhanced greenhouse effect. Now, we all know what greenhouse gases are. You can probably name quite a few, like carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, methane, etc. But that's the greenhouse gases. The enhanced greenhouse effect is when multiple greenhouse gases get trapped in the Earth's atmosphere, and that means they absorb more, that they trap and reflect more and more of the heat. So if this is the ozone layer and the greenhouse gases are directly below it, this is the heat. It goes like this and it goes like this. Usually some will escape. So if my finger was like this, it would only be like this much going out of here up into space. But nowadays, since the greenhouse gas emissions have increased, that means more and more of it is going to be reflected back. So essentially, it's going to be like a greenhouse. The glass is going to trap that heat by reflecting it again and again. And the more it gets reflected, the warmer the Earth becomes. Meaning that more and more mercurial events will occur, such as intense rainfall or intense droughts in areas where there's a lot of dry areas or a lot of rainfall. In fact, in certain areas like India, Nepal, and parts of China, monsoon patterns may be way harder to do, and that's because many parts of India and China are in the agricultural area. So for the monsoon areas, not only do they become more intense, they become way harder to figure out and way more irregular. So essentially speaking, it's not very good in terms of agricultural purposes. It means that there's going to be less of a food supply, less income, gonna decrease the economy. That's going to be bad for people who consume rice or do it farming as their daily work. So essentially, that's a bad thing. Now, I'm not going to say, oh, it's going to happen next year, we're all going to die, or something like that. But the point is, what the point goes out, so that people are more aware of the consequences that it could have, and just some of the ways we can figure out how climate change is making an impact, how much it happened, what we can do to reduce it. Because the first thing we should do isn't go into a panic and start thinking of ways we should figure it out. We need to get to the root of the situation first, before we start making any drastic decisions. So be bright, stay right, and I hope you've learned about climate change options and ways to figure them out.